Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about 10-minute combats in the next, revolutionary tabletop role-playing game, right? So, and specifically, I'm going to be talking about ideas that have come from G3XE. He has a really solid channel. He talks about war games and Dungeons and Dragons. And so I put forward some ideas, and he kicked back some more ideas, and so I kind of want to distill what he said and add to it a bit, right? So yesterday I actually talked about the next major revolutionary tabletop role-playing game. What is the role-playing game that's going to let us do the things we desperately need to do in tabletop role-playing games? So one, we need to make who's playing the game a much, much broader community. Right, and in order to, and also, we have a lot of games that are going up on camera now. We needed to make it so that the audiences who are receiving these games, they can receive them in a way that really looks like a story would be delivered from a comic book or a short story or a movie, right? So 10-minute combats are really critical to this, but 10-minute combats are part of 4 pillars of the next revolutionary tabletop role-playing game, okay? Here's the 4 pillars. It connects to 4 numbers: 99, 90, 10, and 0, okay? So one, the next revolutionary tabletop role-playing game has to be 99 pages or less, okay? The game has to run in 90 minutes or less. The entire game session needs to run in 90 minutes or less. That's the length of a movie. Okay, and one that doesn't overstay its welcome. 10. Okay, it has to have 10-minute combats. Okay, so when I mean a combat, I mean 3 to 15 people, 3 to 15 players and non-player characters. The vast majority of all combats that you see fall into that range. Okay, so the vast majority of combats are taking 10 minutes, 10-minute combats, and then last is zero source books. Source books they kill our industry. They are a bane on our industry. So 99, 90, 10, 0, right? Those are the numbers that are going to shape the next revolutionary tabletop role-playing game. So I put forward this out yesterday. G3XE, he listened to that video, and then he came back and he said, here's how you get to a 10-minute combat, right? And really, that is key, because the 10-minute combats, they're going to allow you to get to a 90-minute game time. So I really like how he honed in on the most important part of what I was saying, which I think is really critical, right? So he had some fantastic ideas. So here's a distillation of what G3XE believes you need to do to get to a 10-minute combat. And I 100% agree with him. Now, I want to talk for a minute, right? I'm really blessed to have G3XE watching my videos, and the reason why is he comes at Dungeons and Dragons from a really unique perspective, in my opinion. He has a really strong knowledge of Warhammer 40K and of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And one of the things, and he's able to take ideas from one and flow it over into the other, okay? And one of the things that's happened in Warhammer 40K that G3XE has seen, and one of the reasons why he was able to bring forward these ideas, is he saw the 400-page rule book for Warhammer go to a 4-page rule book, right? The combat rules for Warhammer in Age of Sigmar are 4 pages long. It's insane. Every Dungeons and Dragons player, every Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master should read the current free Age of Sigmar rules, because it's a work of art how compressed it is, right? In addition to this, G3XE is familiar with a great game called Frostgrave, okay? So with all these ideas bouncing around in his head, he was able to say, okay, here's how combat compression has happened in the war game world. Let's use some of those ideas and build a solution that allows you to get to a 10-minute combat for a Dungeons and Dragons game. The Dungeons and Dragons, that's me saying it. For the next revolutionary tabletop role-playing game, not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Although I think it could be used for that, but we'll get there. All right. So here was his idea. So he said, one, what you do is you change the structure of your monsters. You change the structure of the monster. Okay. So a great example is a goblin. Okay. So if you go to a goblin, if you look at a goblin in Dungeons and Dragons right now, it's a page, right? And there's some really evocative text that tells you how to role play them, right? What their culture is, and what they do, right? But then there's a lot of mechanicals, right? Well, what he was saying is, he said, take those mechanicals and really boil them down. So from now on, your monsters really have the following statistics, okay? They have a break value. This is the value that it would take to make them break and run from a combat, okay? And then they have 3 combat stats: melee, ranged, and spell, okay? So like a goblin would have, might have a melee of +3 and a ranged of +1 and a spell of 0, okay? And so you have, and then the last one, this is a brilliant idea. They have an ability bank, right? And so an ability bank for a goblin would be, swarm, right? So they come at you in swarms, right? And then also, and they're better when they're in larger numbers, right? So they might, so if there's even, if the number of goblins surrounding a goblin is higher than their, than their break value, they get a +1 to all, to their melee and their ranged, whatever it is, right? So the other thing is chaotic, right? So they are chaotic fighters, and they could do things that would be really unusual, right? So they might, like, when they attack you, rather than just stabbing you with their knives, they might kick your campfire at you and burn your tent, which would distract you. So they might have. So the ability bank is this really great idea where he was saying, rather than put bite claw on every single beast in the Dungeon Master guide, just put bite claw in the ability score, and then you would trigger how much their bite or claw goes off of, or whether they're a small, medium, or large animal, right, or large beast. But this idea is so that basically you have a break value, you have their 3 core combat, you have their combat bonuses, which are melee, ranged, and spell, and then last you have that ability bank. And this is a great idea. It really compresses those creatures, right? But what are you getting rid of? You're getting rid of initiative, right? Which I totally agree. I just actually did a video today about getting rid of initiative. And even Mike Merles is saying initiative is just not working, right, in Dungeons and Dragons right now. So I totally agree with G3XE on getting rid of the initiative. And then also getting rid of hit points. Totally agree. Brilliant idea, right? And then what you do is you go in, and the way you roll is your player character, they have the same thing. They have, pluses for melee, pluses for ranged, and pluses for spell, right? And in addition to that, your damage for your, and this is brilliant too, your damage for your weapon is always static, right? So sword does 6 points, period, done, right? And so what you would do is the goblin would roll a d20, and and let's say he's getting a +3, he rolls a 9, that's a 12. You're a player character. Let's say you have a +6 in your melee, and you roll a 15. You're a 21. They got a 12. That's 9 points, right? And then is the 9 over their break value, right? And then does that one creature break and run away, or does the whole swarm of them run away, or does your character have something that can convert a break into even a kill, right? Now that was G3XE's ideas, and I think they're absolutely brilliant, and they're laser focused on delivering a 10-minute combat, and they're really it's a really solid block of ideas, and I see the genesis for those ideas as coming from seeing Warhammer really do a super compression of their rules, and then also Frostgrave taking a look at Warhammer's rules, and they have done this like really elegant version of combat that is better, in my opinion, than Warhammer, but it's but like, you don't want to say, Frostgrave's a better game. They're standing on top of on the shoulders of Warhammer. You know what I mean? Frostgrave, by the way, is absolutely brilliant, beautiful game. I'm really, really big fan of it. So, it's a really, really great idea. So, G3XE, I just wanted to say a big thank you. It really helped me distill that idea. Of course, I'm working on a tabletop role-playing game right now. Those ideas are going to get swept right in. So I really appreciate you being so open and being willing to share your ideas. It's very, very appreciated. And one of the things I wanted to kick back to you, just to give you some ideas to kick around and let me know what your thoughts are. So one of the things that I've been thinking about, I totally agree that HP is just, what's the point of, your guy has HP of 80, now he's down to 60, now he's down to 43, now he's down to 17, right? I think there might be a future in what is the state of your character, right? And right now, the three that I have in my brain are hale. I'm hale, I'm hardy, I'm full, I have full hit points, right? And then wounded, I am wounded, right? And then last is killed, right? Now, I'd really like to put something between wounded and hale, right? And I was thinking the word ruffled, or I was thinking interrupted, like your combat flow is gone. You are not injured in any way, but you're, oh my gosh, I think daunted might be the word. So like, I would go hale, daunted, and then, wounded, and then killed, right? So daunted is or maybe even just shaken, like, no, I really like daunted, right? Like, so, that sword blade did not touch you, right? But you could feel the wind pass, from that blade, you felt a swift wind on your eye, like that is going to be like, oh my gosh, I almost just lost my eye. I'm daunted, right? And so, if you're in the state of daunted, there's certain mechanics. If you're in the state of wounded, there's certain mechanics. And if you're killed, you're done, right? Like, but I was, and I think mixing that in there is really a good idea as well. And then last, I think for player characters and non-player characters, I really want to apply these levels, which are Drudge, Veteran, and Elite, right? And then again, they have different mechanics when so a player character who is a Drudge, right? And by the way, Drudge means pawn, but pawn is, the word has too much freight, so I don't want to use pawn. But Drudge is like somebody who follows somebody else's orders. They really don't have any agency, but they're there, like they're a person. They can stab somebody with a dagger, you know what I mean? It's not going to be it's probably not going to kill anybody, but a Drudge can can stab somebody with a dagger. Now a veteran, man, like if a veteran stabs you with a dagger, you're going to be bleeding and you better run, right? Because you could bleed out soon, right? But if an elite takes a dagger to you, you probably won't remember it because you'll be dead, so one of the things I was thinking is just, starting to compress all these, I think that's the issue. When I think about what G3XE said, I realize, the Warhammer 40K book went from a 400-page rule book to a 4-page rule book. Now, there are these war scrolls, you know what I mean? But one of the things is you're really doing a great job of taking complexity off of each player, right? And also the idea of what are my players going to get from the internet rather than from a book? All this is in the mix, right? But I really appreciated G3XE's feedback on what I was saying. And G3XE, I do pose the question to you, if you have any thoughts on what fits between wounded and hale. I'd really love to hear what you're saying. And also, I just really wanted to say thank you because, I had that idea yesterday, and the idea to that the very next day, I'm dealing with awesome ideas that are a distillation of what I worked on yesterday. And now today, I'm farther than I was yesterday. That's what all this is about. That's the point of having a channel, is being able to put an idea out to the world and get awesome stuff back right away. And that's really rewarding, and that's cool, and that's what these communities should be all about. So I did want to just say a big old thank you to G3XE. If you love Dungeons & Dragons, if you love Warhammer 40K, if you love Frostgrave, if you like seeing somebody draw well, there's lots of reasons to going over to G3XC's channel. It's a really solid channel, a lot of good solid advice. His dungeon workshops are a highlight in my opinion, and a lot of great content over there. So thank you everybody, and have a wonderful day.